Secretary, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it was a stellar jobs report when you look through the numbers. Are you concerned at this moment, though, given what we have been seeing in the previous reports and today's surprise reading, that there is potentially an overheating in the labor market?
So this jobs report crushed expectations, as you've already noted. 353,000 jobs created last month. The unemployment rate remains under 4%. That's now 2 years straight. Labor force participation rate remains high. And we're seeing also, consumer confidence, the highest it's been in some time now. The other thing to note is that wages are up. And for President Biden and for me, that's what we want to see, is more spending money in workers' pockets. So when you look at all of the numbers all together, it's not just that single one. This is really a sign of a strong economy that's continued to grow and continue to see broad-based growth.
Job market strong. You mentioned wages up. So how concerned are you, though, that that might still keep inflation in the higher realm and then potentially leaving Americans feeling unhappy about the state of the economy?
Yeah, so the president has said over and over again, right, one of his top priorities is to bring down prices. We've certainly seen inflation also, we're getting that under control. Things like gas and milk and eggs that cost more last year than they did this year. That is movement in the right direction. But again, if you look at the overall, not just this month's numbers, which are, again, beyond expectations, very, very positive, but also the trends over the last 2 years, it's a sign that President Biden's economic agenda, where we put workers first, where we invest in America, it is working.
But why are Americans feeling it? Poll after poll, it continues to show Americans are giving the president poor remarks when it comes to the economy. Our poll that was just released this week shows once again in 7 critical swing states, people say they have a better trust relationship about the economy with former President Donald Trump. How do you sell this message?
Well, it is, again, I think we're seeing those surveys move as well, and that is because people are starting to feel the change. A lot of the improvements, we came out of a global pandemic, right? A lot of those took some time to take hold, and I think 2024 is going to be a big year in terms of people not just feeling the benefits, but also seeing the historic investments under President Biden's leadership really hit communities, and shovels hitting the ground, and jobs continuing to come to communities to rebuild infrastructure, manufacturing, clean energy. So those are all central to the economic agenda of the Biden-Harris administration, and I think that the tide is clearly turning in terms of people feeling it. Now, that doesn't mean we're done with our work. We've got more work to do there, and we'll continue to keep our sleeves rolled up and continuing those efforts.
Well, is the administration, though, taking a recession off the table now?
I mean, people, said since I got here that everything was too hot. Things were going to crash. People talked about this elusive soft landing. I think the numbers that we have seen, again, not just this month, because we don't want to make too much of any one month, but certainly this month also. This is the very definition of a soft landing.
So you're not concerned about a recession?
I think, again, I'm not the economic expert here. I'm the labor secretary. What we focus on is making sure that there are good jobs in every community, and we connect people in an equitable way to those good jobs. But yeah, I think that the experts are saying that none of these numbers are consistent with a recession.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the labor numbers then. The male 20 years and over labor force shrank in January. The male participation rate fell. The number of males employed fell. Female labor force grew. Female participation rate increased. The number of females employed rose. So all the strength is coming from women. Where are all these women coming from?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it several times, I think women have powered this economic recovery. And again, we saw women were devastated during the pandemic, right? It really exposed the challenges where we don't have adequate child care, where we don't have sufficient paid leave policies. Those are things that the president has called for us to change. But we've certainly seen women come back to the labor market. The prime age labor force participation rate is higher than it was before the pandemic. And again, I think women are important to our economy. They're also really important for their families. And the jobs boom that we're seeing is helping, I think, to draw women into the labor market.
Do you see an issue, though, now, looking at these numbers across the board, with men in the labor force?
No, again, the overall labor force participation rate remained the same. For prime age workers, it ticked up a bit. We're also, we've been talking about creating jobs that do not require a 4-year degree, in order to rebuild roads and bridges and ensure clean drinking water flows out of every faucet. All of those things are creating jobs in construction. There's been investments in manufacturing. We're going to feel those more as the year progresses. And so, no, I'm not, the numbers don't give me any concern. And when I travel the country, I see people in training programs, in apprenticeship programs, hopeful about their future and feeling some more economic security.
With this jobs report, the Fed is most definitely going to be taking likely March off the table for a cut. So with expectations of the Fed cutting closer to the election in November, how concerned are you that this is going to become politicized?
Look, what we're concerned about is making sure that we're delivering for the American people every single day, making life better, connecting people to good jobs, putting training programs in place that are connected to the skills that are going to be needed, that are coming to communities. Certainly, we are in a political year, but the numbers don't lie, and we're going to keep on doing what we've been doing, which is focusing on job growth, focusing on equity and access to good jobs, and focusing on investing in America and America's working families.
I ask about it today because the former president was on Fox Business, and he said he won't reappoint Jay Powell if he were to win. And he also said that he doesn't like what he thinks Jay Powell is going to do, which is cut rates into an election year. But it's not just the Republicans. We also heard from Senator Sherrod Brown, Senator Elizabeth Warren, telling Jay Powell, the Fed chair, that he should be cutting rates. Is any of this helpful or appropriate?
I mean, I'm not going to speak for what other people are calling for. I will say that the president has said over and over again that we have to build an economy in this country from the middle out and the bottom up. That means starting with working people. That means leaving no one behind. I think that this jobs report demonstrates that that is working. We've seen wages increase. You're never going to hear me say that more money in workers' pockets is a bad thing. That's giving families more of what the president wants. He says we don't just do work for our income. We do it because it brings dignity, respect, and some breathing room. Those wage increases from this report are part of that breathing room.
Staying on message, Julie Su, thank you so much for your time today, Acting Labor Secretary.